Back again, back again.
God bless every single parent of this world.
God bless you.
Only by youth on the street and don't know them father. Only mama alone. From the dear mama get to
I'm about to start dancing.
That's what's up.
Papa room in the home. Poor mama holding it together in this battle alone. Sometimes it gets too much to bear cause daddy's not around.
I said daddy's not around.
A single mother who played father for her child, who fighting like a soldier, always hustling to survive.
All right.
To put food on the table and to be there all the while. I pray that God will forever bless your very soul. Once in a while when you see when the table stirs.
Welcome to Friday Night Love, where we mix old school music and new school music along with conversation on finding and keeping love. Join in with your questions and your comments, and please like and share. Maybe somebody out there that may be in need of this conversation, but they'll never know unless you tell them so. So, I'm Brother Spear.
And I'm Dr. Heter, and tonight we're going to discuss dating with children.
All right. So listen, pull up a seat, pour yourself some wine, and let's spend some time. Welcome to Friday Night Love.
Our children are the future, we should nurture them with pride. They need to have their mommies and their daddies all the time to show them love and care and tuck them in and say goodnight and teach them how to make it within the scheme of life. God bless
He says single parent, bless the parent with the child, and bless the new relationship. We're going to talk about how to blend it, how to just talk about it. We want you to chime in with your questions. Please text us what's on your mind, what you're going through, what experiences you're having in your relationship with a child. So again, welcome to Friday Night Love, and I'm Brother Spear.
And I'm Dr. Heter.
Welcome. So hey, come on in. Chime on in. Let's do this. Let's give it a minute. Let everybody chime in. Let's give everybody an opportunity to pop in. All right. That's what's up. Yeah. All right. There you go. So, dating with children.
All right. So the older you are, the more likely it is that you or your partner will have children from a previous relationship. So this means that when you start dating, you will need to, in the same way that anybody who's dating eventually will probably at some point need to meet their immediate family members and the person who they had the children with.
That's very important, isn't it?
Right. As well as the children themselves. And so now it's not just you and that person dating. It's now you, the person you're dating, their children, and your ex or whoever their parents or the parent is.
There's a whole bunch of moving parts.
It's a whole bunch of moving parts,
Okay.
So you have to take all that into consideration when you...
a whole bunch of moving parts.
Right.
And,
so particularly what you want to pay attention to is the relationship between you and the person you're dating, children, their children, right? And your children. So they have to pay attention to your children if you have some, because it gets even more complicated if you have children and they have children.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? The relationship between him or her and their ex.
The
relationship between the children and their parent. And then how the children receive and interact with you.
Okay.
And that's not to mention all the extended family members, because now they're extended on both sides, you're extended, and so if y'all come together and decide you're going to do something more permanent, so now you have to, it gets more complicated.
Right. So, I guess you have to really, I don't know, if I'm coming into a relationship, a new relationship that the woman has a child,
Mm-hmm.
is it where you should just stay silent and kind of watch how it unfolds, or is it?
Yeah, but there's a lot of things. So what we're going to talk about as we go through this is just a lot of moving parts, like you said.
Okay.
So you want to play something?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, in all relationships, no matter what you're going through, you have to kind of have a conversation and say that. You have to say what it is that you're working with, so you can work it through.
Right.
Now, this piece right here, I think is important. It's important for the conversation.
That
And
was the one. Do that one, yeah. Do that one.
it's okay.
That the high energy one.
This is what we need.
Put that in.
So it says, say that. Say what's on your mind. Be real. Say that, but also show that.
See my sun won't shine. Ain't no stars at night. I swear the sky ain't
How you
blue.
Good. We're back again. Doing what we do. I love doing these shows so we can again share time with you. Hear that?
Yeah.
Just the way that I am.
Right.
Just the way that I am. That whatever comes
Yes.
included with this.
Right. All right. So that pause it right quick. So that gets a little bit more. Pause, 'cause you're gonna miss some of it. So that gets a little bit more complicated. So you say you want me, you say you need me, say you love me, but are you gonna love me with my children?
Right.
Right. Because it's a package deal.
Because
Right,
she said just the way that I am.
Right, just
and
the way
just
I
the way
am.
that I am doesn't just mean me personally as an individual.
Right.
Me with all that I have with me.
Right, and your children. So if he have children, and so so it gets very, very can get very complex. But you still are going through the dating. You got to go through all the.
I guess you got to get to know each other.
Right, and all that. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to know that the children are their priority. And so your wants, needs will be more likely to take a back seat.
Well,
Yeah,
I tell you, it's funny to take a back seat in a new relationship. It could be confusing to the brother, because he doesn't really understand that. Mainly for a brother who's with a woman who has children and he doesn't have any.
Right, and so you're going to take a back seat. So that means now your life will be dictated by a custody schedule, extracurricular activities, tantrums, dance recitals, the details of separation agreement, and the list goes on and on and on. And then the holidays would also be coordinated around the legal agreement. These are all things you got, it's going to potentially can pop up. Vacations will be coordinated around the custody schedule. And then the most interesting thing is that your night might most likely be consumed by the extracurricular activities and homework. So now you're trying to date, and something comes up, the child is the priority.
Right. So you're in a new relationship, and the custodial parent is so tied up, but yet and they can't show love or give their time to you. But you're on the other end of the phone, waiting for the phone call or waiting for the communication. There's no communication, so it can be very strained. It could really strain the relationship.
Right, and so what could happen is so y'all set a date, but something come up with the child, so now you have to deal with that. And then you also want to pay close attention to their relationship with their children, whether it's close, distant, if it's conflicted, and are the children harboring resentment towards them, are there unresolved issues, and so it's a whole lot that goes into this. Yeah, so it's a whole lot that goes into this when you're dating somebody with children. A lot of things you have to take into consideration, and a lot of times people don't take a lot of times when you're interested in somebody, you're kind of focusing in on them.
And I tell you something, mainly when the other party doesn't have children, so they really don't know what that experience looks like.
Exactly. And then so now what happens, and we see all the time, is like if you're outside, and then it creates a whole lot of stuff as you get to know them and everything. We'll come back to some of that.
Okay.
And so So one of the most significant things that a person who's has children deal with is how soon should they introduce their children to the people they're dating, the person they're dating. And so this potentially can become, this can potentially become an issue because now, particularly if you have, small children or whatever age of kids. Now I'm thinking about it because something just came to mind when somebody just came in. Shout out to Bonita. Shout out to Levert.
Hey, Nita. What's happening? Is that Levert? My good brother?
Yeah.
Okay, listen. Chime on in. Come on in. Glad to see you.
So
glad to be a part of the show.
Right. So the thing about it is one of the most significant things a parent has to deal with is when do I introduce the children to my date? Okay. And so people have different ideas about this, the person you're dating. So some say don't do it until you know that you're serious, right? And so it might take 6 months, depending on the person. It might take 6 months for them to introduce you to their child, right, or their children. On the other hand, it's hard to get to know how. That's what I'm saying. It's hard to get to know.
It's funny.
Wait, let me finish this.
Okay.
It's hard to get to know.
Okay.
To say how serious it's going to be because you can't tell how serious it's going to be until you see what their experience is going to be like with the children, and then not to mention the ex, which I'm going to get to in a minute.
Yeah.
Right?
It's funny. The reason I'm laughing is because I remember years ago, before I met Pat, I met this woman, and she had 3 children, and she was so tired, and she was newly divorced. But I guess they had issues for some time, but newly divorced, and because she was used to having a man in the house, soon as I met her, she wanted me to jump in and take over. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not even sure. I don't know. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be stable in this relationship.
Right, exactly. Right, and so that's what it is. So we're going to talk about that in a minute because that's what happens. People. It's sometimes partners, particularly, and they say that particularly happens with men with children, especially if they have small children.
But
you just said women do it too. But we'll come to that because I want to deal with that's with them teenagers.
Okay.
But we will come to that. But anyway, so and then one of the things I just want to say because this is a pet peeve of mine. People say, you don't want to date people with children because they have baggage. They call children baggage, like children are baggage. And I always found that disturbing because I'm like, well, children are gifts,
right? And they are. But again, gifts, until you are part of that experience, you don't know what that looks like or what it feels like.
Right. And what people are calling baggage a lot of times has to do with the parent, or the parents, because it's really how the parent is dealing with the children, the child, or the children, and you,
or even how your life experiences were when you were growing up.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like sometimes you're pissed off at the parent. Because you don't like the way they're dealing with the child. You see what I'm saying? Or you think they let the child get away with too much, so you have all that. It gets. We're going to talk about it as we go through, but it gets much more.
Styles.
Yeah, their parenting style and all that, and it gets
remember,
particularly complex.
It says, regardless of all the stuff in the middle, say that you'll accept me the way that I am. And this is. I'm going to come back to this because this is so important to the topic. Just the way that I am, with all that comes with me. It's nice, man.
Yeah.
It's, the brothers, man. These songs they be throwing down, man. If you can really put your ear to the lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's somebody else.
Oh, okay. Bonnie, I'm thinking about Bonnie.
Right. Same name.
Yeah.
But still like family.
Yeah.
Good to see you, fam. Good to see you. Because we have Massachusetts in the house, and we have ATL in the house.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So I want to say something. I'm going to keep that song.
Just the way that I am, with all that comes with me.
Right, and so one of the things they talk about is how they say that because when kids are, if you, okay, I'll get to that in a minute, but it says a lot of times kids have been through a lot, and so you don't want to, a lot of parents are concerned about their children being introduced to a revolving door of their friends. So, you're dating, and it means you're probably dating more than one person.
Okay.
Right, and so now, how do you manage that when you with children? So. Here it says here that one of the issues you got to deal with is what the children will call him or her. You know what I mean? And
If it gets that far.
right, but still, but that's the thing that I thought was kind of
you're right, because
interesting.
they'll kind of
Yeah,
try to identify that
Like
on the onset.
Yes, right. So how do you identify that, because you don't know how far you're going to get?
Right.
So if the child starts calling you one thing, then y'all get more serious. What do you change what the child's going to call? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it get very, very complex. So anyway, one of the thing some of the research said that secondary breakups are harder on kids than first breakups. So you have to consider the kids throughout the entire process. And so a lot of times they've been through enough transitions and changing their lives, and they don't need something or someone coming in their life and leaving shortly after. And so let me talk a little bit about the kids, because what it says here, the kids need to be ready too. And so we know that depending on how difficult the previous breakup was, you're going through some stuff. You might have going through some grief. You whatever changes you're going through, you have to think about whatever changes the child has gone through.
That's right.
Right now, it depends on whether the children were already in your life before that. I mean, because what happens sometimes, the parents not even involved in the child's life anyway. So it wasn't.
Well, it depends, because we're talking about entering into a home that has children.
Right.
Right, and you have to understand that the most important part of a new relationship that contains a child is you have to really consider the child's emotional stability.
Exactly.
And the emotional health.
Right. And so here, if there was a breakup of divorce, how are they dealing with it? Their relationship with the other parent probably is going to affect how they receive you. So now if they're holding anger and resentment, and so that might be displaced on the person that's coming in.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Because they're going to be angry that you seem to be interfering with the parents getting back reconciled.
Yeah, right, and that's huge, right? Because some kids always, if particularly if their parents were together, they're going to always have this hope that mommy and daddy gets back together.
That's right.
Right, and so then they also, you have issues with children having divided loyalties, meaning that if I like you, then it says I don't like dad, or if I like you, it says I don't like mom, and so I have to not like you so I can like him or her. Wow. Right, and so it could create some real challenges for kids, and then depending on how involved the other parent is. And then, so, like, say the other parents not involved, right? So, I mean, I've had this, this experience. We talked about it. How now they want you to be. They want to, because some kids, if they're hungry for that other opposite sex parents or that same sex parent, then now they might begin to want to. They're looking for mommy or another mommy or daddy. So if I got daddy and I don't have mommy, then now. I want you to be my mommy.
That's right.
That's
right.
You said, I'm saying you was ever. Will you be my mommy? Will you be my daddy?
Yeah, and it happens.
Right.
It happens.
Right.
And then you got a situation. You have the case where I'll say the brother, because a male's perspective was normally the child stays with the mother. So now the man's out here trying to get a new relationship.
Right.
And because he doesn't want to seem like he holds baggage or change, he won't even tell the girl he has a child.
Okay, right.
He won't tell her.
Right.
He'll go out here, meet her, wine and dine her, get her to fall into him 100%, and then he gets so deep involved with her, he never tells her.
Right.
And then, bam, all the stuff breaks loose.
Right.
And this is what you want to avoid. This is what you want to avoid, y'all. That's why conversation is very important from the beginning. Very important from the very beginning. You fall in love, and then here comes a bomb.
It's too bad, baby.
Friday night love, y'all.
But I gotta face reality. It's too bad. It's too bad. Too bad, baby. Yeah. But I gotta face reality. Today you had a visitor.
Ooh.
Or should I say, an old friend. But wait a minute. That's not where it is now.
See, you're trying to avoid this.
Is there something that you wanna tell me? 'Cause I'm believing what your friends say about your hidden secrecy. Your girlfriend, she wasn't disrespectful. In fact, she's 100% sure. And how can
hear that? Okay. And it could have been avoided. It could have been avoided.
Right, and that says something.
See, so the point to that is we talked about open communication in a new relationship. You fall deep in with somebody, and the next thing you know, you have secrets.
Right.
See, and secrets could have been avoided.
Yeah.
It could have been avoided.
So I think it's interesting when we were talking earlier about because depending on the kids and depending on the kid's age, that's huge too. So for example, remember you were saying that the woman, well, I think I wanted you to do it too, like you wanted them to come in and discipline your child, and you're like, you know.
Oh yeah, that's right. I don't mean to, but these are stories,
right?
And stories are good because again, they teach us, do's and don'ts and what's next. But at the end of the day, this woman had a son, and I'm a new brother in sharing space, and she wanted discipline from me, and I didn't think that was right.
Right.
It's like bam, you're dropping it. You're dropping this here on me.
Right.
But it wasn't right.
Right. And that's what it is. So like they'll want you to because if say they have a boy and the father's not in his life, then they want you to come in and like, I want you to discipline him and get him straight and get him right and everything. And I remember I did that with you when I had my niece and nephew.
That's right.
And I was like, look, I need you to get in this case, get in, then you was
but be what?
Because you was like, he needs a man in this case,
But you know what? In that case, right? Really, in this case, because I can clear this up real easy,
right?
Because now I look at what wasn't a lifelong journey and what is a lifelong journey.
Right.
Now with you, it was a lifelong journey. So
right.
when these things I was faced with, I no doubt had an understanding and a technique
right.
to discipline without being an enemy, without becoming an enemy.
Right. And
because if you're not the biological parent,
right.
and then you start becoming an iron fist, you become an enemy.
Right.
So it has to be strategic. You have to have a strategy and philosophy. And I'm saying about a child
right.
to be able to discipline as an outsider. Okay.
And so then, for example, in his song here, when she said your child, so that's when you want to look at too. So if he has a child or children and he's not doing them well by them, then what is it going to happen? What does that say about what's going to happen if you have children with them?
That's
you
right.
See what I'm saying? So you got to take that into consideration.
Because people are who they are.
Right. Exactly.
That's right.
And then the other thing,
right.
is that like when I say you got to take into consideration the age of children. Because teenagers are going to be radically different. Dealing with teenagers is going to be majorly different.
Is there a question?
Yeah, it says here. Hey guys, how are you? Oh,
who's that?
That's Annie. Hi, Annie.
Hey, how you doing, family?
Right. Okay.
Good to see you too.
Okay.
We got Florida in the house.
Right.
We're Florida. We got Massachusetts. We're looking good.
Okay. So now teenagers is a whole nother ball game. And see, that's the thing too. And that one song we were playing, and she was like, "Take me as I am." And so just because they love you, doesn't mean they're gonna love your children, especially if your children are giving them a hard time.
Right.
So that's the thing that makes this stuff really very, very interesting and that makes it complex. So what happens a lot of times with boys, particularly teenage boys, because boys take on this, I think some of it's instinctive, right? And it's territorial, but they take on this thing like, I'm the man of the house, and they're still, they're a teenager, and sometimes their mothers expecting to take on those kind of responsibilities. They start acting like they're the man of the house. So now you bring a guy in, and now he's dealing with the guys coming into his turf and his territory, and he's trying to, and I think that was a good thing they did with Baby Boy, when they show how now he feels like, I'm the man of the house.
Well, from a male perspective, what happens is when you enter into a woman's house and she has a son, the son takes on the role of the father, and the father that once there was the protector. So he becomes the guy who tries to be the protector,
right.
Protecting his mother, from who could be a predator,
right? But a lot of times too, he's jealous. So see now, because the other thing with kids too is that now they might begin to see the other the person as a rival. So some of it's jealousy. because people get, that gender stuff gets real confusing.
Well, nobody likes shared space.
Right, and so now,
Even children don't like shared space. Isn't that something?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right.
Even
shared space and time with their parent.
Right, and so they might see you as a rival for their attention, and things like that. And so girls can get jealous of the what am I saying? The girls can get jealous of the.
It depends if the girl
right, so if
is
bringing
with
a guy
the mother
in,
and she's jealous of the guy with the mother. Just like if you have a boy with the mother, he's going to be jealous of the man coming in with the mother. So, and then the girl with the mother, she's scared that if the father has a daughter, she's scared that now this new person is going to take her space.
Right, and same thing even with the mother, because like they say, she's daddy's little girl.
Right.
So now you come into the picture.
Right.
She sees you as a competitor for his attention.
Right. She had space with him.
Right. Exactly.
And you're taking her time.
Right.
Her
so
love.
that teenage stuff gets very, very complex. And I'm gonna tell you another thing that gets complex about the teenage stuff. Not teenagers, but even young adults. I'm just gonna give you an example, right? So me and my sister went out to a club, and we met these guys, right? So they were older guys, and so older to us at that point. And so when we went they invited us to his house. One guy invited us to his house. We went to his house, and the sun came out, and we was like, "Dang, I'm a little confused now. I don't know if I like this." He was a young adult, and I was a young adult. It's like I don't know if I like the daddy or the son, and so that can get confusing too. You see what I'm saying? So, and so I can see how it could be the other way around too with guys and girls. You see, so that stuff can get very, very complicated, right? Yeah. Anyway, so the next thing you want to take into consideration. People have to consider is like the sex, right? So now it's like, do you just spend the night? How do do you spend the night with them?
Is it sex with which I'm sleeping over?
Yeah, well, of course you're sleeping over. You're probably having sex, So do you spend the night with them? What does it look like to the kids? And so parents have to decide. This gets very complicated for parents because now they have to decide if they let the person spend the night, or if they're going out, right? So. So if you go out and spend the night out, then what does that look like to the kids? Or if you bring somebody in, what does that look like? And so it can get very, what happened?
It looks like Wi-Fi seems to be going in and out. I'm not sure, so I'm just going to keep this thing moving. Okay. But go on and finish.
All right. And so, so then they have to decide how you're going to do that, right? When you're dating with children, like, do you wait till the kids go to bed? Do you make sure they come in and spend the night and then leave before in the morning? Well, and I think a lot of this has to do with the age of the kids too.
Well, I think what happens is when you have a real, it's a challenging situation. First off, right. When you're dating with a child, and this is what I have found based on conversations and all. The woman usually waits till the child is with the father on the weekends till she shares space with the man so the child's not around.
Yeah, that's only if he's with the child.
Right, that's when you have an organized divorce or breakup.
Right.
Because you have shared space. She has them during the week, and then the father or the mother has them on the weekends.
Right, but
and that's usually the intimate time when the child's outside the house.
Yeah, but what happens sometimes, some of them don't have that. Some of them don't have some extended family to take them. They don't have, the father's not in their life. And so if they're not in their life and they're not doing that shared thing, so you have the child with you all the time. So how do you manage being able to, get your groove on?
Well, I can answer that. I can answer that because when this is old school dating. When you're young, you go through all the challenges, man, and learn your do's and don'ts. But when you get to a certain place in life, it's old school dating.
So what does that mean?
So which means you're going to use your words. You're going to use your words to the person that you're trying to have a relationship with and express to them what is it that you're faced with. And you'll work that out together. Right. Because your words in a relationship is so important because the conversation and words, man, it goes a long ways. Never forget that. Your words it sets the platform.
Shout out to Brenda.
Right, your words set the platform, then your actions.
Randy.
It kind of
Phyllis.
locks it all in.
Okay.
Because if your words are right, it's beautiful. Everything is beautiful. There's no issues. You'll have communication about where you are, where you stand, and what you like and what you don't like. And then you can work it out from there. That's why I think this song, Words, is so important. Ain't nothing but words until it comes out in action. a great show.
Yeah,
It's a great show. I love it. It's a great show. Good to see you all. Good to see you. I tell you, whatever we can do, it makes a difference. It may make a difference to one person's life. Communicate. Words makes a difference. Beautiful song.
Fairy tales can be real if you just believe. Got my mind right.
That's right. It can work.
Yeah.
No matter what you're dealing with, it can work.
You just have to know it's going to take time.
Right. It'll take time, but you have conversations, and then when you have blocks, call us. We got you. That's right. Just remember, you all.
And so, like, you're still dealing with the issue of how do you deal with spending the night. And we would invite some comments and some of your experiences. Tell us what some of your experiences have been.
That'd be great.
Right, and what you think about what we're saying here. But like, for example, so if the person you're dating is spending the night, then you have to be considered, like, what kind of messages are you sending your daughters and your sons?
It's funny. It's funny. You call yourself, well, my child's sleeping, you sneak him in, but we all know that during the night, the child walks into the room.
Oh, right. No, and not only that.
Even though you plan on getting him out earlier.
Right. And then it depends on the age of the kids, because, some of them are up on it. Hopefully they're not up on their phones and hearing everything that's going on. And so you can't sneak around them, because especially teenagers. And so you have to really be cognizant of the kind of messages you're sending to them if people are spending the night. So you're telling them to abstain and telling them certain things, and then you're doing things.
Well, we know that children watch and follow what they see.
Mm-hmm.
They don't follow what you say. They follow your actions.
Right.
They follow what you do.
Right. And so that's one thing you got to take into consideration. So we do invite some comments on, what some of your experiences have been. And even if it doesn't apply to you, then it could apply to somebody you know. And it also can apply to your own children, because you have some people who watch this show are really adult people.
That's right.
Right. And so they might have young people now because people now, marriage is not, a few decades ago, marriage was important before you had children. Now it's, children come first, and then people get married.
Well, that's right. But and you're right. This show, we have an adult audience.
Right.
We have a mature audience. So
a lot of them
everyone has these experiences.
Right. And so some of them have adult children who have children.
Right.
Right. And so they're grandparents, and they have adult children who are staying at home with them.
That too.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so now, how do you help your adult children be able to maneuver, and teenage children who might be at home, be able to maneuver some of this stuff? So it's like I said, it could be very, very complex. And then the next thing, which is critical, is looking at the ex, right? And so looking at the children's fathers or mothers, or other parents. And so this, again, gets very, very complicated. My video interrupted.
I'm just kind of looking at what we have here. Okay, there we go.
Okay, so you want to look at the relationship with the ex. And so if I'm dating somebody and, they introduce me to the children, now you also need to look at if the ex or the child's parent is in their life, what does that relationship look like? Right. So, for example, how do they interact? Is it conflicted? How it might potentially affect you and your relationship? Right.
Okay.
So, and you want to look at how they conflict, right? So, how you all handle conflict is important. So.
Okay. So if you have drama.
That's what they mean by the baby mama drama and the baby daddy drama. Because a lot of times it's not the kids, it's the parents.
It's the parents.
It's how the parents dealing with the children.
With each other.
How the parents are dealing with each other.
As the bait,
and they're using
the
children as the bait and all
that.
that drama. That's why they call it baby. We saw a few songs, with the baby mama and the baby daddy drama. But that's what they mean by that, because it is sometimes a lot of drama. And so, one of the things we were watching the other night, there wasn't children involved, but we were watching Sisters the other night. Now, none of them have children, right? But there was an instance in one of them where the guy came in while she was with another guy.
Right.
And so, and remember, as they were going, they were fighting, conflicting. And remember, he was like, "Why don't he just leave?" We was watching. We was getting kind of geeked up, saying, "Why don't he just leave?" Right? And see what happens, and they end up getting into a fight, right? Because what happens is, say, because men are very, very instinctive in terms of conflict. So say the video keeps breaking up, but great subject. Keep up the good work. Okay, she said the video keeps breaking up.
Okay, that's it's weather wise. When you have a certain system, and the open air can disturb the feed.
Yeah, that's just jacked up. But anyway, so for example, remember we were having a conversation where, say the guy, okay, I'm with this woman, she has children, and she and the guy the ex is having some problems, right? So say he gets loud or he starts becoming threatening. What's going to happen is because of how men are, and how men respond to a potential threat. This can create. Are you listening to me?
Yeah.
Okay, but this can create a real problem because. And I'm just saying because what happens.
Yeah,
because I need your interaction.
I'm looking at the IT as well.
Yeah, because so remember we were saying how men respond to threats differently than women respond to threat.
That's
so even if he's not saying anything to him, but it seems like he's threatening to her because of the way he responds to a threat.
That's right.
It can create stuff, and so now you can end up having, depending on if they're conflicted and have highly charged, emotionally charged conflict.
That's right.
Then now he potentially put himself in harm's way because he's put in a position to have to protect her.
That's right.
Right. So I'm saying, so that's why it's important to look at how they're conflicting.
Okay.
And whether or not you're going to be able to handle that. Can you stay cool and calm if their stuff is highly emotionally charged?
So there are definitely a lot of moving parts.
Right.
And a lot of dynamics. It's like a roller coaster ride. But
can be, yeah.
But after that's over, you always have to put yourself in a position to where you can find quiet time.
Right. So that means you have to find time to be able to. I know you're going here, but
that's okay.
You find time to be able to have the relationship. Let me finish this right quick.
Okay, go on.
So then the other thing you want to look at also is how the ex treats you. Right, because what happens is how you're going to respond to how they treat you.
Okay.
Because sometimes people, are they going to respect you? Are they going to respect the boundaries? Because a lot of times they don't respect the boundaries. And one thing but it has been my experience with women. Okay. Is that a woman feels like if she was there first, right, or if she's your ex-wife, because a wife feels I'm always the wife.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? Or if she has children by you. She feels like she has a certain amount of whatever that is.
That's
a certain amount of power.
Right, she has power.
Right, so
because
she might
no matter
not.
What, she has a connection that will always be there.
Right, so she might not respect the boundaries.
Right.
Because she feels like I have his children
of the new relationship.
And stuff like that. So the question is not necessarily what she does as much as how you respond to what she does.
That's right.
Or what he does is how you respond to what he does. So then. Say she gets crazy, start doing all kinds of, off things. How are you going to respond to that? Are you going to get pulled into it, or are you going to maintain your cool?
Well, you have to maintain your cool. You have to, because if you challenge that, then she'll turn on you because the other relationship has more time in than you. Right. So a lot of times they'll still, no matter how mad they are at the next person, they'll turn on you because you're the threat. You're the new person on the block.
Exactly. You're the new kid on the block. And even with the kids. So one of the things, I'm not going to talk about us, but one of the things you have to realize is that, I want to, but yeah, okay. But one of the things you have to realize is that if you put too much, say you it's two women, so one has children by him, or the ex, and and one is you, and then he's in the middle. So if he has a pull going to you, and both of y'all are pulling, right? And so now you stressing them, she's stressing them. The kids might be stressing them because they don't want you to there. So
I'll tell you what'll happen. I will tell you
what do you think will happen? Right.
I can tell you. He's gonna go find some quiet time. He's like, I'm not gonna deal with none of this.
Right. But I'm saying, like, if the pressure gets too much where both are pulling, and particularly how attached he is to his children, if you're putting the same amount of pressure on him that she's putting on him, he might just say, you know what, I'm gonna let this go.
That's right.
And I'm gonna go on and,
because he's going to find some quiet time.
Well, I mean, but they talk about quiet time another way. Okay.
But I'm just saying, these are my words.
Okay.
You know,
he might quiet time with somebody else.
Right, give me what I need.
No, he's saying, like, look, he might be like,
just give me some quiet time.
Give me some quiet time. I can't get it from neither one of y'all.
From all this madness.
Can't get it from neither one of y'all. I'm gonna get it from somebody else.
whatever it takes. Just don't say a word. I've had enough. Come on in. It's been a hard day in the situation. Let the tension fade.
Yeah.
Let it fade.
And you know what? We have step parents. Well, not step parents, but when you're dating with children, you have to find that time.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
That's why I thought this was so important.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to shut it down, get back with you and her, and just have a conversation, get back into each other's space, and just come back.
Yeah.
You gotta come back.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Yeah, it is.
It's real nice.
Okay. Come back.
Friday Night Love, y'all. Friday Night Love. I hope y'all having good conversations. That's what I'm stretching. You hear that? And you have to do that, y'all. What happens is when it gets tough, when it gets stressed, it's tough.
Right.
Come on back. Come
Right.
on back and find your quiet time.
Yeah.
Quiet time, have conversation, get back into each other's space, discuss how much you love her, how much you love him, and let's
But
just do this.
this
y'all.
applies to all relationships, though. Right.
And that's what it's all about.
Because what
regardless
happens
of the moving parts, it still boils down to a love and
We gotta turn it
relationship.
down. We're gonna talk. Because this applies to. Can you turn it down? I just want to comment on it. You can come back to it. I just want to comment. So it applies to all relationships because that's why a lot of times why people, particularly if you're in a relationship with somebody who was already married and that divorced or like that because they lost their way, and because a lot of relationships don't take that time to have that quiet time where you have that quality quiet time to play, because that's
And
what he's
that's what's
calling
about.
it. Quiet time to play
That's
with
right.
each other.
With each other.
Right.
With each other's mind, body, and soul.
right,
and
exactly.
spirit.
Right.
That's right.
So it's not even just families with children. We have children.
Right.
You know, and the work schedule and all that.
what it's about, y'all. That's at the end of the day. Yes, it's a lot of moving parts, but you have to bring yourself back to the relationship, back to building the bond.
Right.
You know.
And so now, so basically, too, you also like want to look at how they co-parent outside of how they conflict. Before I get to that, you also got to deal with how people deal with anger and jealousy, how you deal with anger and jealousy, because just because you're with the person doesn't mean that the other person's over them. You know, and so
you know, you're right, because sometimes one parent is through, but the other one's not.
Exactly. And so how are they dealing with the anger? I mean, how are they dealing with their anger? How are they dealing with their
and separation
jealousy,
and all that. Right.
And then how are you dealing with it? And so, so you got to look at how everybody deals with their anger and their emotions, because stuff can get in their jealousy, because that stuff can really get out of hand when people don't handle that well. And so then also you want to look at how they co-parent when they're not arguing, right? And so what is their ability to co-parent in a healthy way? Right. And everybody doesn't know how to do that. Okay. Are they undermining each other? Right. You know, because how parents are set up, you know, situation where, you know, you're supposed to get them at a certain time, but they're not there. You know, just kind of all kinds of stuff. You know, you're right.
There's a lot of variables. Right. There's a lot of moving parts.
Right. And so we're talking about just dating. We're not talking about once you make that commitment and you stop step parenting. That's another. So we might need to do a whole talk on that, because there's a whole lot more things you have to consider once you get to that level. Right, but
but when you lock in and you're co-parenting, I mean, you know, you.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you know, like that's the thing.
No, you're not
what happens? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If I'm dating you, am I co-parenting? You know what I'm saying? For just dating?
No.
That's the thing. And
are you sharing responsibilities?
Right, and that's what happens.
It depends on the commitment that you have and how long you've been in a relationship.
Right. Okay. So now I'm dating you. I'm seeing you. We're dating, and I've probably been knowing you about a month.
Well, no, there's nothing in my past is your responsibility. Okay. Only thing you're responsible for is me in my heart.
And that's the next question.
Building my love with you.
Right, and that's the next question. What are the expectations? What expectations does the parent have of you? Because we just talked about that a minute, but I want to, you know, go through that a little bit more. Okay. And what is the expectation that the partner might have of you? Because you'd be surprised that the other parent might also expect you to do some things.
That's why earlier, a few songs back, it's called Words. And words were making a stance and communicating about what it is that your expectations are and what it is that you expect. I mean, what boundaries are, and then walking them through in your actions.
Right. Right here, but so like I said, co-parenting is not easy after a separation or divorce, especially in light of there got to be a lot of stored up resentments. You know, and then if they have problems, some people are not good parents, no matter how, you know, have difficulty. I'm not gonna say not good, but have difficulty parenting, regardless of all the other stuff. You see what I'm saying? Too. And so now you're bringing all these dynamics, and you're trying to date and all that.
Yeah, but you know, so now you're talking about styles.
Yeah, but I'm just saying some people just they're just challenged. Period. You know,
right. That's just styles. Right.
Right. And so what are the expectations? And this is why I want to come back to that, because a lot of times men, you know, you say both sides, but. One of the things that there was a study done, and they talked about, and they interviewed some women, and they were saying it's one of their challenges with dating men who were, who were children, is they want you to become the mother like instantly, because especially with young children, so they, you know, because a lot of guys they don't really know what to do with young children. I mean, some men are really good at parenting, but I'm saying, you know, there's something. It's like I don't know if I want to say it because it's more natural for women. I don't know, but
of course, it's more because women are more nurturers than guys, and the guys have to go through the experience to learn what do's and don'ts. Right. You know, and if there's no father figure that they was able to follow coming up as a blueprint, you're right. It's going to be difficult. Right, and so the woman has to be really patient with him. Right. You know, in the process.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So what they do is they want you to come in and start parenting their children like real quick, because interestingly, like guys think that certain things are just women's responsibilities, particularly when it comes to kids.
That's right.
You know, it's like, you know, so like these are your kids, but you know, you want me to come and do the things that a mother would naturally do, or you know, or what the parents should be doing. And so, and they said how some women talk about how women are like they guy now he got her, you home with his kids, he out. He out doing his thing.
You know, it's funny.
And you're stuck at home with his kids.
We had a conversation the other day about that.
Right.
You know,
they're going all the time. Now you're sitting at home.
And she's sitting home with his
kids, right?
You know.
So and so that stuff can really be a challenge.
Right, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Dating with a child, there are challenges,
Right.
and there's no question about that.
Right.
But you have to work on that because I guess the end game is to make each other theirs, right? If you're not just trying to do this, you're not trying to get into this as a fling. You're trying to get into a long-lasting relationship.
But see, that's what I'm saying. That's what makes it complicated, right? Because first of all,
I guess because you don't know really where
you
it's going to go.
You don't know where
you
it's going to
have no
go.
idea where this is going to go.
It's going to go. You're still getting to know the guy himself or
And
the
he's
girl.
getting to know the girl.
Right, so y'all getting to know each other, and so you got to first of all deal with that dimension of it. And then now you got to deal with, again, that's what I'm saying. And now you got to deal with also who he is with his kids, who she is with her kids. And then you got to deal with the kids, right? So you have all these relationships, and you got to get to know the person, because you don't know who people are, really, right?
Because
really.
I tell you something too. Because when you're faced with these things, and these kids sometimes get out of control, you would expect their biological parent to control the environment,
Right?
But they don't,
right? And so that's what frustrates sometimes the person that's dating, because they're like, can you get your child in? Can you get your child in control? And so they don't see things, and that's the other side. Then the parent don't want you telling them nothing about their children.
That's
People
right.
get offended if you say something about their
about their
parenting ability. They think
Right.
they take it personal.
Right.
Right, and which I think a lot of us have gotten away from is that we don't realize that it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise children. And so even because you're so close to the child, there's things you might not be able to see that some other people can
Right.
see.
You definitely have to have a support team.
Right. So it's like I said, it takes a village. It
Right.
takes a whole
Right.
family. It takes
A
a village to
support
raise
team.
children. And a lot of people don't. Let me give you an example too of how that X thing can be. So I was dating this guy one time, right? Because you don't know people, so you don't know what people are going to do. And so he was, we were relatively new, right? And he had an ex, right? And so I was at his house, and she came and she, was trying to get back with him or whatever. And then she started circling in the house, right? And she was going around the house, right? And I was like, oh,
kind of scary.
It was a little scary because then at one point, I scare easy anyway, right? So at one point, she was walking. I saw her shadow up on the wall, right? And I'm like, oh shoot! I'm like, is she gonna set the house on fire? So you start.
Sure.
Your mind starts having going through all these things because you don't. I don't know who she is.
You don't know, and you also don't know who the other person is.
Right. I know, like the person you're dating.
You don't know who they are.
You don't know who they are either.
You might want to know who they are,
because
but
you still
don't know who they are.
Right. If you've been with somebody for years,
And
you don't know who they are.
You don't know who their alliance is to. If their alliance is to you or to the one circling the house.
Right. Exactly. And so those are the things that you think about, because again, like you said, like we just said, you don't know who people are, and it gets very, very complex for those reasons.
But at the end of the day, the only thing we want to do is make each other theirs. So make me yours, and in order to do that, you have to kind of go through the process.
Right.
So this is something that I think is nice, and listen to the words, y'all.
Used to let little things get to me. Came with a whole lot of shit with me. A whole lot of pain, many grudges. Never really know what true love is, but gotta play my bags. Too many heartaches ruin me fast.
You hear that? These are all heartaches. They're coming too fast. Don't know who to trust anymore.
I ain't giving up, baby, till you came around. The walls I built for so long keep falling down.
That's right.
I ain't giving
That's how you do it.
baby, till I seen your smile.
See? Change a lot of things.
I know I'm falling. I don't know what the future holds, but I know it's gonna be with you.
That's what it's all about.
The future holds, but it's nothing without you. I don't know what the future holds, but I know it's gonna be with you. I don't know what the future holds. Only thing that I know for sure is I'm yours. I'm yours. I'm yours.
This is what we're trying to get to.
I know for sure
If-
is I'm yours. Yeah.
You're going to go through some things, but when you get to the end of the road, it's beautiful.
And so then, what I wanted to say here, one of the things you have to, I think we're getting ready to get into that place. So how much time do we have left?
Well,
So you have to understand that it's the reality of it is that, because she says in this song, "I'm yours," right?
that's right.
But now the kids yours too? You see, so right,
Wow,
right.
you know what? That's a really
right.
good question.
It's a serious. It's a package deal.
Okay.
Right? It's not, I'm yours. Like, we're yours.
Right. And she's been through a lot. And finally she's found the right guy. And here we are. I'm yours, but are my children yours too?
Right. And so that's the thing. So like we said, people have to really understand that it is truly a package deal. So,
but I guess I can answer that because the children really aren't they're their own.
Yeah, I know they're their own, but if you accept them,
depends on the age they are.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So if you accept them, because if a person has a good relationship with their child or children, then they're going to be in their lives forever. So as we talked about earlier on, whoever you choose, you're choosing all their choices.
Right.
Right. I always want to say that they're choosing all their choices.
That's right.
And if they have children, you're choosing their children. You're choosing their family. You're choosing their ex. You're choosing their children's parents. You see what I'm saying?
So the most important part of the story, I guess, you really have to spend a lot of time in will can soothe all these things.
Right, right.
And really heal and bond and blend.
Well, not necessarily soothe it. You have to make a decision. You have to really go in it and make, what word was I using earlier? A very calculated or conscious decision about knowing who you are and whether or not you have the patience, because a lot of this takes a lot of patience. And then the thing is, being where we are in the life cycle ourselves, most of us didn't know what things were going to look like 5 years from now, what things were going to look like 10 years from now. You see what I'm saying? And so even though it might start off rocky and shaky, if people have the patience,
right,
and
patience and humility goes a long way.
Right. One of the things I want to say too is, if you identify that the person that you're dating is really a good person and somebody you think is worth it, right? Because you have to identify whether or not you think they are worth it, because some people come with a lot of good qualities, but they got a lot of stuff that they come around with their whatever's going on with their children, whatever's going on with their ex. Right. But if you have the stamp, the staying power to be and the patience, and because you think that person and that person's worth it. That's the thing. They have enough going on for you, right, to make it say, okay, he's worth me going through what I have to go through. Wow. Right. And a lot of it, I think, not. I'm going to even talk from my own personal experience. A lot of it really has to do with you just having the patience to see that it might look this way today. But if you have the patience, and because people grow up, the kids grow, and people mature, and all that. Right. Then it might not look like this today, but tomorrow it might look like something else. Or
the
5 years from now, the vision changes because people, like even with kids who are really hard, like some kids are really hard, and that's what I'm saying. Because I love you doesn't mean I'm going to love your kids, especially if they're older kids and they're giving me a hard time. They're giving you a hard time, and they act like if somebody act like they don't like you, you're like, well, you don't like me, I don't like you either. That's just natural human instinct, right? But as they mature and you say you walk through it with grace, you still try to take the higher road, eventually they might shift. Like when she's really a good person, they start to mature. I'm just talking from experience now. They really start to mature. They realize that you're a good person. Like, okay, what am I mad at? I'm mad because you ain't with mommy.
Because maturity is the key.
Right.
Because not only do you mature, the relationship matures.
The relationship matures. Right. The children mature. And now they get over the fact that mommy and daddy's not going to get back together again, and all that. Or they feel resentment that you left mommy. Because I'm going to tell you what goes on with girls, right? Girls might feel like because you left it, not you left them, whatever, broke up, however y'all broke up, but they might look at it as you abandoning their mother, right? If you abandon the mother, now when they start to bond with the mother, you're also abandoning me. And
some of them look at, is it something I did?
Right. Kids look at it as something I did. And so that's what I'm saying. Like some kids have this issue because their parent was abandoned in their own mind. It might not be that case.
Right.
We know somebody going through that right now, right? Who was it was going through right now where they were saying, oh, God, who was that? They were saying, who was it?
It doesn't make a difference who.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to, if I could think of who it is, then I'll remember.
Okay, well, that's okay.
Like, don't leave. You're leaving mommy. They were saying, like, you're leaving. They don't want the mother and father to break up. And they're saying that you're leaving. Don't leave because I don't want you to leave her. I don't want you to leave us. Right. Oh, I know who it is. Okay, right. So it's like, so she's struggling now because she's like, you're leaving not only is he leaving her, she feel like she's being left.
Right, she is. Right, that's all the children feel like. I don't care if it's female or male.
Right,
They all
so now,
feel like they're being left.
So now you bringing somebody in, they're gonna hate their guts. Basically, you know how we say when you're a kid, I hate your guts.
But it depends on the parent, because if you have a good parent, and the child trusts the parent, they'll go through the process.
Well, not necessarily.
Well, I'm not saying all.
Yeah,
you know,
right. Yeah,
and they'll trust, and then when the situation becomes very unbalanced, then sometimes the parent has the ability to reel them back in.
Right.
So it just depends on the parent and the parent's relationship with the child.
Right. And so, like I'm saying, so like if the parent really talks to him and say, let your mother have a life, you know, versus the parent might be instigating it, you know, like
right. Well, there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of anger sometimes in breakups and co-parenting, and then all of a sudden you got a new relationship, and so one's jealous, the other one's sitting by themselves, the other one's getting on with their life, so there's anger there.
Right.
But anyhow, there's a whole bunch of categories in which we can discuss. We can go all night with this, but we don't have that luxury. But I am really glad that everybody, you know, took the time out and kind of listened to the conversation and shared time with us on Friday Night Love. So listen, I just want to say, Pat, listen, you have any, because you're doing a great job with this.
Right. No, we're going to end it. But I just want to say, my last words would be that it just takes a lot of patience. You know, if the person's worth it, just have the patience. You know, it takes a lot of patience, and that's the thing.
It does. Patience.
Taking the higher road as much as you can.
Well, at the end of the day, listen, she's worth it. He's worth it. Regardless of all the moving parts in the relationship that was there before you got there, you just have to navigate through them and have the conversation with her, man, and really discuss do's and don'ts. And when you're faced with a challenge, talk about what that challenge scenario is, and you all can get through that too.
Right.
You know, because at the end of the day, everybody wants to get to a place where the days that they get together, these days are for them.
Right.
This day is that I'm sharing is for you.
Right.
You know, I don't want to be interfered with when I am here with you. So keep that in mind. This is Friday Night Love, and I'm glad you spent some time with us.
I've got to deal with the adult children.
You know, there's a whole lot of variations, a lot of situations that we can talk about. But we're about out of time, y'all. So listen, I'm Brother Spear.
And I'm Dr. Heter.
And listen, thanks for chiming in to Friday Night Love, and we'll see you next week. Peace and a bye-bye. Listen, share it. Go to our YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is The Love Channel. We have tons of shows up there.
For that offer advice and information.
And so listen, thanks for chiming in. Friday Night Love and The Love Channel on YouTube.
And if this here has some bleeps in it, we're going to have it up on YouTube and you'll be able to see it again.
Right. So whatever, if this is not clear or anything else, it's on YouTube. It'll be very clear, crystal clear. So go back to it. Go back to it tomorrow and enjoy the show. All right.
It's about love.
It feels so good to
I got to say, continue to grow in love.
Today is your day.
Not too late.
Okay.
Today's your day.
Continue to grow in love.
That's right. Cherish each other. No matter what you're going through, you can get through it.
Right. This is a love on a silver platter.
You know how to love me. You know how to love me. Treat me.
That's right.
You treat me so.
Love and respect each other, y'all. Respect your women and respect your brothers. They're worth every ounce of it.
Every little thing, whatever you need, giving you me 'cause this day is for you. Just because I want to, I wanna give you back all the love you give to me. I just want the world to see just how much I love you. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You know how to love me.
Pretty.
That's so nice.
Treat me right.
You hear
That
that?
is so
You
pretty.
treat me so good.
Mm.
More than any other man could.
Just open your heart.
Back to
That's all you have to do. You can get through it all.
Cause you're the best thing special to me. Ooh, this day is for you.
Good night and bye-bye. Friday Night Love.
I want to give you back all the love you need. All the love. I just want the world to see. I want the world to see. I love you. Just how much I love you. I love you. This day is for you. Just because this day is for you.
Pretty, so pretty.
All my love is for you. I wanna give you back. I wanna give you back. All the love. I just want the world to see. I want the
Just want the world to see.
love you. Just how much I really love you. Love you, love you.